Namaskar everyone and welcome to the Navaratri Satsang for today. So let us start with the Prarthana. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Navaratri Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the teachings of the great Acharyas to progress on the path of our sadhana. Let us recite the Guru Parampara. Lakshmīnātha Samarambhām Nāthayāmuna Madhyamām Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Let us offer our prayers to the Alvars. Bhutam Sarascha Mahadahvaya Bhattanatha Shri Bhakti Sara Kulashekara Yogi Vahan Bhaktangri Renu Parakala Yatindra Mishran Srimat Parankusha Munim Pranatosmi Nityam. Prayers to Swami Ramanujacharya. Yo Nityam Achyuta Padambuja Yugma Rugma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmadguror Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. Let us offer our salutations to Swami Pillai Lokacharya, on whose text Navavidha Sambandham we are conducting this satsang of ours. Lokacharyarya Gurave Krishna Padasya Sunave Samsara Bhogi Santasta Jiva Jivatave Namaha. So with darshan of the beautiful form of the Lord Sri Rama, let us proceed to our topic for today. So today we are going to take up the 9th and final Sambandha, which connects the Lord with the jeevatmas. So we have seen Pita, Rakshaka, Sheshi, Bharta, Nyeyaha, Swami, Adhara, Atma. And today we are going to see the Lord as the Bhokta, the Lord as the enjoyer, and we, the Jivatmas, as the Bhogya, the items, the objects which are enjoyed by the Lord. So many times we find that it is very enjoyable for us to visit the temple, to look at the beautiful form of the Lord. Like for example, in Kumbakonam in Tamil Nadu, there is a form of the Lord which is known as Aravamudan. Aravamudan means the Lord, the nectarian form of the Lord, which is never going to get over, which is immortal. So when we look at beautiful forms of the Lord like this, we get some enjoyment out of that. When we hear to the Leelas of the Lord, when we listen to what has been described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when we listen to the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and we see what all the Lord has done in all these Itihasas, Puranas, when it is narrated, we get a lot of enjoyment. And we think that how much the Lord has given us, we are enjoying all these. So that is one kind of enjoyment. Now, definitely this enjoyment is superior to enjoying the mundane pleasures of this world, which we can enjoy through our sense organs. So somebody is watching movies, somebody is eating tasty food or eating forbidden food and thinking that it is very tasty to the tongue, and they are enjoying like that. So that is one type of enjoyment. Our enjoyment is slightly different in the sense that we are getting enjoyment from the Lord and his Leelas. So that is definitely a superior enjoyment. But actually we need to realize that we think we are the enjoyers, but actually we are not the enjoyer. Ultimately, we should realize that the Lord is the supreme enjoyer and we are the objects which exist for his enjoyment. So he is the Bhokta and we are the Bhogya. So actually the Lord is waiting to enjoy us. Even now, when whatever we are doing, it is giving some enjoyment to the Lord, isn't it? So if we do bhakti to him, it gives him a different kind of enjoyment. Then he feels pleasure that, yes, this person is really doing what I like. Now, sometimes we do foolish things or we go on the wrong track, then the Lord will laugh. And probably that laughter, that enjoyment is like in sarcasm, or it is because of the irony that, oh, this fool is not doing what he's supposed to do. He's trying to find enjoyment in other things like that. We can't say. But actually, what happens once a Jivatma attains mukti and reaches Vaikuntha, reaches the holy feet of the Lord, right? Then when the Lord questions, this is explained by all the great acharyas, that the Lord will ask, Kosi, who are you, right? And what is your role? What is your swarupa? And then that Jivatma says, Ahamannam. I am the annam, I am the food. For whom? I am the prasadam for the Lord. He is the consumer. The Paramatma is the Bhokta. He is the enjoyer. He is the consumer. And what does he eat? What does he consume? This Jivatma. So that is to say that whatever we do should be for the pleasure of the Lord. Now, what happens after we reach Vaikuntha is later. But right now, what can we do? We can do all those things which give pleasure to the Lord. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Himself has explained that He is always the enjoyer. So, in the 9th chapter, the 24th shloka, the Lord says, Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha natumam bhajan natumam abhijananti tatvenataschyavanti te. So I am the enjoyer. I am only the Lord of all the sacrifices. So we are doing different yajnas, we are doing different homas, we are performing many rituals. So sometimes in the course of those rituals or those yajnas, it may appear as if we are offering oblations to Indra or to Varuna or whoever. But actually, is it for that deity, that devata? No. It is for the Lord who is antaryami in all those devatas. So ultimately, whatever we do, the enjoyer of all that offering is Sriman Narayana. It is that he is the Lord of all the sacrifices. But there are people who don't recognize this. They fail to realize that Lord is the supreme enjoyer. And for all those people who refuse to understand or realize or accept that the Lord is the Bhokta, they are permanently caught in this cycle of samsara, born and die and born and die again and again, birth and death and rebirth and so on. So such people must be reborn because they have not understood the ultimate truth. So Lord has given us this sharira, but this sharira is not for our enjoyment, but it is to give enjoyment to the Lord. And how can we give enjoyment to the Lord? By serving the Lord. You remember we talked in some previous satsang about what we must do to please the Lord. We must do anukulasya sankalpam and we must do pratikulya varjanam. Whatever pleases the Lord, we should only do that. Whatever displeases the Lord, we should never do those things. So we have to always attempt to give pleasure to the Lord. And when we do something which gives pleasure to the Lord, seeing that He is pleased, we can get enjoyment out of that. Then that is the enjoyment of a servant who is happy that the master is pleased. If we don't do anything like that and we are only enjoying for our own pleasure, then it is not the right type of enjoyment. So anything that we see good, right, we must go to such a stage that if I see something good, the thought should come that this is something I can offer to the Lord. I want to give this to the Lord. If I see flowers, if I say that, okay, I want the flowers to wear in my hair and I want it for my beauty and adornment, then that is a very inferior level of pleasure, isn't it? I am trying to get pleasure by wearing those fragrant flowers in my hair. But if I feel that, oh, these flowers are so beautiful, I want to offer them to the Lord in my puja room, or I want to offer it in the temple to the Lord, then that is something where I have understood that the Lord is the Bhokta and I have to do seva to give him pleasure. So, whatever it may be, flowers, food, fruits, clothes, whatever it may be, we must be moved to do all those things, to offer all those things to the Lord. And there is an incident in the Ramayana. We know that how Lord Rama helped Sugriva by killing Vali. And then it was time for Sugriva to send all his Vanaras and go in search of Sita Devi. But it was the rainy season, so they had taken a temporary break from all those activities. And in the meantime, Sugriva got lost in enjoying the pleasures because he became Raja. Then he was enjoying the power of ruling over people. Then he had servants at his beck and call. He was lost in drinking and enjoying the company of Tara and so on. So he was lost completely. And then Lord Rama decided that now is the time he should be reminded. So Lakshmana went there under the instructions of Lord Rama. Lakshmana went to remind Sugriva. And Lakshmana went there, he was very angry. And everybody now, when Sugriva came to know that Lakshmana has come there, he knew that nothing can save him from the anger of Lakshmana. So very smartly, he knew that Lakshmana will not be rude to a woman. So he sent Tara. And when Tara came there, she spoke in a very, smart way, in a very calm way, and she managed to calm down Lakshmana. During the course, now, of course, what all she spoke, how all she convinced him, that is itself a separate topic. We can talk about that some other time. But what is relevant to our theme for today, only that bit we will take now. So what Tara said is, in the course of all this, she welcomed Lakshmana. She said, "You please sit down," and she offered him food to eat. At that time, Lakshmana said that you may offer me something to eat, but I am not going to eat that, because anything which is not eaten by my Lord, anything which is not the Uchishta of my Lord Rama, I refuse to take that. For me, that is like food which has been touched, defiled by the dog. So, what Lakshmana is saying, that if the food has not been offered to Rama, it has not come from Rama as his prasada, then I am not going to eat that. According to Lakshmana, such food which is not offered to Lord Rama is like the food which has been made impure by the touch of the dog's tongue. So, here what we must understand is how much is the importance that is given to offering food to the Lord and eating that as prasada. Anything else that we consume is actually not fit for us to consume. So that is one place where we understand. So when I eat food, is it for food which I have cooked only for my pleasure and for my tongue to enjoy? Then that is not at all the right way to go about things. As a bhakta of the Lord, what I should do, whatever I cook, I should offer to the Lord, and then I have to consume it. Now, when I'm consuming it as His prasada, then there is no question at all of finding fault with that food. If I offer food to the Lord and then I eat, I should be happy and not raise complaints also about that food, because it has come from the Lord as His prasada. So this is something which we can practically implement in our life also. Now, in many places, the Lord has cautioned everybody. Like when Alvar have sung about so many different experiences with the Lord, in one place the Lord says that all of you people who are doing bhakti, you please be very careful when you contemplate on the gunas of the Lord, because when you are not watching, He will gobble you up. That means what? Again, the Lord is the Bhokta, He is the enjoyer. And if He finds somebody who is a bhakta, He will gobble up that person. What is the meaning of gobble up? Is it that physically He will eat him? Not physically eating, but He will take over that person's mind and atma and everything. That is what the Alvar is trying to say. So he gives the example. He says, I wanted to enjoy the Lord. I wanted to have darshan of the Lord. And I thought that Lord is coming to give me darshan and to give me enjoyment. So he came, and he came with his whole retinue. Like all his Devis came, Garuda came, Vishwaksena came, everybody came. And they all entered my heart. And I was very happy thinking that Lord has come to give me an enjoyable experience. But then, when nobody else was looking, the Lord gobbled up my mind and He ate up my Atma also. So when my mind and Atma were eaten up by the Lord, what is left there? There is only a big hole, and He only is filled in that big hole. So, like this, the Alvar is explaining his experience. So, is it actually that the Alvar doesn't like this experience? No, he wanted to enjoy the Lord. Before that, the Lord enjoyed him. And in the Lord's enjoyment of him, he is getting the pleasure. So, that is the bhava with which a bhakta has to seek to enjoy the Lord. Now, there is a story which is told about a rishi called Kanva Rishi, and in relation to baby Krishna. Now, this Kanva Rishi, here in this story, there is probably another Kanva Rishi who was the father of Shakuntala. I am not sure, I don't think it is the same person. But what is told is, we know that Krishna's father, Nandagopa. So, this Nandagopala's father-in-law had a guru. That guru was this Kanva Rishi. So Nandagopala had been calling this Kanva Rishi to come and bless the baby for many years, for many months. Yeah, many years only we can say. So this Rishi had not been able to come. Finally, one day he made time and he came there. So when he came there, this Rishi was very strict and very orthodox, and he had his he was a great bhakta, and he had his particular practices. So what he would do, he had the saligrama of the Lord. So in that saligrama form, he was worshipping the Lord. So he would carry the saligrama wherever he went, and he would offer worship to that with food which was prepared by his own hands, using only the permitted materials. So when he went to Nandagopala's house also, he went into a cowshed. And because that cowshed is considered a very holy place. So he went into the cowshed, he set up everything there, he set up his shaligrama also, and then whatever materials were given to him, with that, he was getting ready to cook the food. So he went to the Yamuna, he took bath there, he came back, and he started preparing with all ritualistic purity, everything, with all muddy and everything. He started preparing the food. He prepared all whatever items were to be offered to the Lord. He prepared all those things, and then he sat down to offer it to the Lord as Naivedya. So he recited all the mantras and he called out to the Lord. He said, "Oh Narayana, I am an absolute sinner. I don't have any qualification. And yet you have given me your grace. I have prepared this for your pleasure. Please come here, O Narayana, and accept it." He called out to the Lord. He was doing the Ganta and he did his puja and he was calling out to the Lord like this. And in his mind, he visualized, he went into a trance. He visualized the beautiful form of Narayana coming there and accepting the food. Suddenly, he woke up from that trance and he saw one small boy, bluish black in color, is gobbling up all the food. And he was so surprised, a bell fell to the ground and he was shocked because he realized that this boy who has come and eating the food is the son of Nandagopala and Yashoda. So he was like, so he called out loudly. He started screaming that all of you come here. What is this? What sacrilege? What wrongdoing? Who let this child inside? Why is that child eating this food? I had prepared it for my Lord. So they were also very upset and they said, please forgive us. We are sorry. You please prepare the food all over again. We will give you all the materials and all that. So again, Kanva Rishi went to the Yamuna. He took bath. He came back and he prepared again all the food. He was already tired, but still he prepared. And then he started, again, he did the same procedure. Again, what happened? That same child came there and gobbled up all the food. So again, he was upset. And he said, what is this? You people do one thing. You take this, your baby, and go off into the next, road somewhere. You keep him far away from me. He's simply coming here and eating and spoiling the purity of everything what I have made for the Lord. So they took, Yashoda took Krishna away and went. Then again, now he was too tired. He only made one paisa. So he went to the Yamuna, he had bath, he came, he made paisam and he started offering. Same procedure he followed. He visualized Narayana. And again, that same baby came there and started eating and he was laughing. Now he sent word to Yashoda. And there Yashoda is there with Krishna in her hands. They came here to the Goshala to find out what has happened. And then one moment, Krishna was in Yashoda's hands. The next moment, it appeared that he is sitting there and near the saligrama and eating all that food. So then this suddenly, all of a sudden, this Kanvarshi realized, oh, what is happening here is that the Lord is showing the Narayana to whom I am calling out is this same Krishna who is the son of Yashoda and Nandagopala. So when I called out to Krishna to come and eat the food, what he did was the correct thing only. And then he started jumping in ecstasy because he went off into that bhavavastha, realizing that, oh, this is the Lord Narayana, and I'm so fortunate to have darshan of him. And he started dancing in ecstasy. And then he went closer to that baby Krishna, and that baby Krishna laughed loudly. And what was little payasam in that baby Krishna's mouth, it came and fell into this Kanvarishi's mouth. And then what he tasted was so nectarian. It was like amrita. It was like nothing he had tasted ever before. And then he was so lost that in that trance like state only, singing the glories of the Lord, he walked and went away back to his place. So, from this, we can understand that if we call out to the Lord, I mean, I don't even know what meanings to tell for this story, but it is a bhava which we must try and understand. I mean, we may not be able to understand using our mind and buddhi, but we can feel that emotion, isn't it? So, like that should be the bhava. And when we call with so much genuine love, the Lord will definitely come there. We don't know in what form He will come, but He will definitely come and accept whatever we have offered to Him. Right? Okay. So for today, one Bhakta story we will see. This is, I'm not sure if it is directly related to this theme of Bhokta and Bhogya. But anyway, because we have been looking at some Bhaktas stories, this is a very Bhavapurna story. So I have taken this. So there was a barber in somewhere in Maharashtra, and he was a great Bhakta of Vithala. His name was Sena Navi. So Sena Navi means a barber. So his name was Sena. So this Sena used to always do all the work for the king. Like he would, whatever, haircut, beard, this trimming the beard and all that, shaving, whatever. He used to do all those things, tasks for the king. So this Sena was also a great Bhakta of Vitala. And sometimes when he sat down to do puja and meditate on the Lord, he would get lost in that. And then nobody could shake him up and wake him up. When he came out on his own from that meditation, then only he would do his other works. So anyway, one day he was sitting like this. So the king's soldiers came there saying that a king is calling Sena, let him come at once. Now, this man was in his meditation. Now, the wife knew she can't wake him up. So, what to do? She was scared. If she says he can't come, then the king will get angry. So she said he has gone out somewhere and he's busy. When he comes back, I will tell. He's not in the house at present. She said and sent them away. So they went back to the king. Now there was a neighbor, and that man was also a barber by profession, but the king never used to favor him. So professional jealousy. So that man, what he did, he went to the king and he gave him the information. He said, actually, Sena is in his house only, but his wife is telling lies, and he is doing puja, and that's why she is not allowing him to go out. So the king got angry, and the soldiers again came, and this time they were very angry. They said, you have to send. So this lady didn't know what to do. And then, just as if she was thinking, in the meantime, Sena got up and he took his bag with all his materials and he said to the soldiers, come, come, we will go. And he went. Now, the minute he went to the king and entered the Raja's palace, the Raja looked at him, and for God knows what reason, the Raja felt a lot of love towards that Sena as soon as he saw him. And he took him. He said, come, come fast. Why you didn't come so much time? I was waiting for you. Come and do everything fast. So that Sena took out all his materials. Then in one cup he poured oil because he had to do malish for that king. So he put oil and he kept it on the table by the side, and then the king was sitting there. Now suddenly that king then he was massaging the head of the king. Now the king suddenly happened to look into that cup of oil, and he noticed that somebody with four hands is massaging his head. And looking at that form, that at the reflection in the cup, that particular form, he had so much, unspeakable joy. He couldn't make out, he couldn't explain what it was, but he was in some peak of pleasure. And as that Sena was, what you say, massaging his head and all that, he was getting a lot of joy. And then he had to go to take a bath. He didn't want to go, but then he told that Sena, you please wait here, okay? I will come back and give you a great reward. You please wait for me till I come back. Now he said that and he went for the bath. Then the Sena went back home. Now, when the king came out and he couldn't see the Sena anywhere, he was like totally very upset. He said, he was agitated. He said, where is this Sena? I had told him to wait. Why did he go away me? Why is he tormenting me like this? Why did he run away? And so on. So then he sent the soldiers again to Sena's house and said, bring that Sena here. So then they went and Sena came. Then when Sena came there, the king said, why you have come like this? I want to see that four-armed form of yours. So Sena said, what four-armed form? I have only two hands. How I will have four hands? So the king said, no, no, no. That time you showed me that form. You should bring your cup of oil. So when Sena showed him that cup of oil, he said, bend and show me your face in that. Show me your body in that cup of oil. So when he bent, the king looked and then he said he could only see this normal Sena with two hands. Then he told Sena, no, no, that time in the morning when you came and did malish for me, I could see that you had four hands and you gave me so much joy by doing malish. You did such good malish for me. And then Sena realized, you must have also realized, isn't it? Who was it who came in the form of Sena? It was the Lord himself. It was Lord Narayana who came with his Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, with those four things in his four hands. And that is why, being touched by the divine sparsha of the Lord, that Raja had got so much pleasure. And poor this real Sena, he was so, overwhelmed. He said, oh Lord, to spare me from the rage of the king, you came like a barber. How great is your Mahima? How how much caring you are of your devotees, that you don't mind stooping to the level of becoming a barber for the sake of a devotee. That is the way that a bhakta can move the Lord. The Lord will be willing to do anything and everything for the bhakta whom he loves. So that is about the devotee for today. Now, the alvas, we have covered all the other alvas, and the only one whom we had not talked about is Andal. So we know, you remember we talked about Vishnu Chitta, who was also called as Periyalvar, the person who won the argument, the one won the debate and established that Sriman Narayana is the Paramatattva, the one who was rewarded by taking in a procession. And then when the Lord came, he was scared that the Lord will be hurt, that people will do drishti for the Lord, and he sang those verses. That same Vishnu Chitta, that same Periyalvar, one day in his garden, he found a baby girl. And because he found her and she was like a gift of Mother Earth, so he called her as Goda, Gode, Kode, like that they say. So he brought up this Goda, and because he was full of bhakti for Krishna, he brought her up also with that same love for Krishna. And soon what happened is, how much love this Goda was feeling for Krishna, that she made up her mind that Krishna only is going to be my Lord. Now, in the temple in that Srivilliputur, Vishnu Chittar was the priest, and that Lord there was Vatapatra Shahi, the Lord lying on that banyan leaf with his toe, the big toe in his mouth. We have all seen that, isn't it? That form of the Lord. So that was the Lord. Vatapatra Shahi is the Lord in Srivilliputur. So every day, this Vishnu Chitta used to make beautiful garlands of flowers combined with tulsi and everything, and he would offer them to the Lord. And he was very skilled in doing that. So he would make those garlands, keep them ready, and then while going to the temple, he would take it and go and offer it to the Lord. Now, after some time, this Goda, she was so enamored of the Lord, and she kept thinking all the time that the Lord is her husband. She's going to marry the Lord only and nobody else. So with that bhava, she started imagining herself as the bride of the Lord. And what she did was, from one fine day, she started the practice, and every day she did the same practice. She would pick up those garlands. She would say, "This is a garland my father is going to offer to the Lord. Let me wear the garland and see, does it look beautiful for me? Does it make me look as beautiful enough as the Lord? Am I a suitable bride for him? Let me wear and see." So she used to wear that garland, look at herself in the mirror, and imagine and compare her beauty with that of the Lord and say and wonder, am I a match for the Lord's beauty? Am I looking beautiful enough for him? And like that. Then she would remove the garland and keep it back in that basket. Now, Vishnu Chittar never knew all this was happening. But one fine day, what happened is, when he was placing the garland on the Lord, he realized that there are some strands of hair. So he thought, how did this hair come here? And he was surprised. Then next day, as he was going about, he noticed Goda wearing that garland. And then he was so shocked. He said, what a sacrilege it is. How it is such a big apachara, such a big crime. How can we can wear something and offer it to the Lord? That is unthought of, isn't it? We should not do that. Everything should be offered fresh to the Lord. So he was really very angry, and he shouted at Goda and he said, how did you do this? I have brought you up in such a good way. How could you do something like this? And then he discarded those garlands, and then he made fresh garlands and he went and offered them to the Lord. That day, everybody, all the bhaktas who came to the temple, they were saying, somehow there's something wrong today. The Lord is not looking as bright and tejasvi as usual. What is different today? They were wondering. Now, that night, the Lord himself appeared in Vishnu Chittar's dream, and he told him, he said, don't do this ever again. You should bring me only those garlands which have been worn by Goda. I want those garlands only. They are the most fragrant garlands. They are the most beautiful garlands. And because they carry the fragrance of her form, they are pleasing to me. I want only the garlands which have been worn by Goda. And that is when the Lord realized that his daughter is actually the beloved of the Lord. That the Lord sees her as his Devi. And ever since that day, this Goda came to be called as Andal, the one who ruled over the Lord. So then the Lord said, bring her to me, I will marry her. And so it was that they took Goda and went to Srirangam, and there the doors of the sanctum sanctorum opened, Goda rushed inside and she disappeared. She merged into the form of Lord Ranganatha. So she is considered as the avatara of Bhu Devi, who is one of the Devis of the Lord. We know that the Lord has three Devis. There is Shri Devi, there is Bhu Devi, and there is Neela Devi. So Goda Andal is considered as the avatar of Bhu Devi. And she took birth to teach us how we must worship the Lord. She is very famous for having composed the Prabandha called as Tiruppavai. And even now, everybody in their houses, they recite that. And especially more so during the month of Margadi, which is the Dhanurmasa, which is that period in between the mid of December to the mid of January. So during the Dhanurmasa, in all the Tamilian people's houses, they will every day recite this. It is a very a unique kind of a prabandha. It is very simple and it conveys very effectively how we must perform worship of the Lord, how we must dedicate our life to bhakti of the Lord, and how the Lord will bless us. So that is the teaching that Goda gave to us. So it is said that she gave the Lord Pu Male. That is, Pu means flower, Male is Mala. So she gave the Lord Pu Male and she also gave him Pa Male. Pa refers to part. Part means hard song. So she made a garland of her songs and offered to the Lord, along with the garland of flowers also which she offered to the Lord. So she teaches us that if you can do nothing else, at least you do archana with flowers to the Lord. And if you can't do even that, then sing verses which glorify Him, do His namasmarana, and you will progress in your life. So that is what we can learn from Andal. So from out of all the things we have discussed today, what we can take a message? We must only eat that which is offered to the Lord. Everything is for the Lord's enjoyment. And we are only the beneficiaries of that enjoyment of the Lord. Whatever we can offer, patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, so anything of these, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, water, if nothing else, all of these we can offer to the Lord. And whenever we see anything good, we must have the thought of offering it to the Lord. And we have got this human body. We have done God knows how many lifetimes, what all we may have done to get this human janma. They say, isn't it, that to get Manushya janma is durlabha. It is very rare. It is very difficult to get Manushya janma. And in that Manushya janma, to get some inclination or affinity for sadhana, to do spiritual practice, that is even more difficult. So when we've got both these things, which are actually very rare to get, then we must make sure that we utilize this opportunity to do seva to the Lord and to get moksha, so that we can become the bhogyam, we can become the enjoyment for the Lord. Like Alvar, we must want that the Lord should enjoy us. And that is possible only by doing constant seva and sadhana. We don't know. We may have done some papas. We may have no. We have definitely done a lot of papas. Now we don't know what more accounts are there. We don't know whether next janma what is going to happen to me. But in this janma, when I have got this arivu, this awareness that my life is meant to be the bhogyam for the Lord. I am there to become the enjoyment for the Lord. And I have to do everything I can for His pleasure. And when I do things with this attitude, then I surrender to the Lord's feet, then I will definitely get moksha in this life itself. So we must do whatever we can to ensure that in this janma. So we have come to the end of our Navaratri Satsang. We have come to the end of today's Satsang. Let us offer Kritagnyata and gratitude for the great Acharya Parampara through which we are able to learn about all these things. Let us offer gratitude to the Alvars who have left us with such a great knowledge, with so much, examples of bhakti. Let us give gratitude for the commentators who have explained all these meanings to us. And let us offer gratitude at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru, who inspired us to join this satsang. Let their blessings and grace always be on us. Let us proceed in our sadhana with their guidance constantly. It is by the grace of the Lord that all 9 days, without any hitch, okay, small changes of timing have happened, but still we have been able to continue with our topic without any disturbance, with no kind of problem. And also at the right time, I have been guided to the right kind of topics or to the right resources to make sure that we are able to understand these things. So I'm very grateful to all of you also, because if you had not been here, there is no question of there being a satsang at all. I can't talk to the wall alone, right? So thank you so much, everybody, for being participative like this. And it is your enthusiasm that every time you ask what we are going to have as Navaratri topic, it inspires me also. It makes me also more interested, more motivated to try and do something different. So let us thank the Lord. Let us thank each one of us and be grateful that we are together in this journey of our sadhana. So today will be the last day of the Navaratri Satsang. Tomorrow I'm going to be really very busy. So we will stop with our satsang for today. And if this Thursday it is fine, then we will take our regular Gita Satsang. In case there's any change in schedule, then I will inform you, and probably the next week we will get back to routine. If any one of you has anything to share, you want to say, we have just 2 minutes time. If you want to talk, please unmute and share your thoughts, or what was your feeling in this satsang, whether you learned something, whether it was useful to you. If you want, we have just 2 minutes time. Yeah, people have put in the chat box. Everybody is saying thank you. Then Ranjini is saying thanks a ton for enlightening us. It is always a pleasure. Pramila madam is saying best Navaratri. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. It is all by the Lord's grace, isn't it, that all things are happening. So we will stop here then for now. If anybody has any feedback, any suggestions, or anything, you had some kind of a divine experience, you want to share that, please send me a message on WhatsApp, either in the group or separately, however you wish it. And thank you, everybody. We will meet again in our regular Gita Satsang. We will get back to our study of the Bhagavad Gita. Namaskar.